honor to be invited to such a wonderful online international congress this time. Particularly, being the first presenter, I feel responsible quite much and so honored at the same time. I am an applied physicist and have been engaged in a very important research to develop a new diagnostic imaging device for a breast cancer screening. Today, I'm going to talk about new diagnostic imaging device for breast cancer screening using microwave, explaining why it has been so difficult to develop such a device before, and what specific characteristics it has in detail. I also intend to share part of the latest clinical data. I'm engaged in research activities mainly on applied physics and applied mathematics at Center for Mathematical and Data Sciences of Kobe University. I understand that breast cancer is a quite serious disease for which 52,000 persons die per year in the world. Let me share a bit about the situation in Japan. 1 out of 11 persons has breast cancer in lifetime, and 78,000 persons develop breast cancer per year. In Japan, approximately 1 out of 66 persons die from breast cancer as lifetime risk. As many as 14,000 persons suffer and die from breast cancer in Japan per year. I recognize that it is really a serious disease. However, early detection leads to high 10-year survival rate. So, how to realize early detection and how to develop a technology for early detection? I think these are crucial issues not only for healthcare professionals, but also for applied physics specialists and various other engineering specialists, as they are interdisciplinary challenges to tackle. Breast cancer screening starts with mammography or echo, and then pathological examination by close inspection, and eventually to operational procedure. The X-ray mammography is regarded as a de facto global standard. I understand this is very precious technology that has saved many patients' lives. What I am interested in about this X-ray mammography image is concerning high-density breast. When this young woman has her breast screened by X-ray mammography, the images show whole breast white out. Because the whole breast shown in white, the white spots of cancer became invisible. I'm interested in developing a diagnostic imaging device which can identify the location and size of breast cancer accurately, particularly in case of dense breasts. There are various literatures about the dense breast, and here I am sharing one of them by a prominent researcher presenting statistics by race. Asians have the highest ratio of 80%, meaning as many as 480 million persons had aforementioned high-density breasts among those who are younger than age 55. This issue is recently much exposed in Japanese media. Using a metaphor, saying it is like finding a white rabbit in a snowy mountain. It attracted so much attention that it was taken into a scene of a TV drama. It was a drama where the protagonist was a doctor, and the actor mentioned about the white rabbit, telling how difficult to find it. So currently, general public is now getting familiar with the words high-density breast. When cancer is detected, a white spot can be seen against grayish-colored ground showing whole breast. In case of a dense breast, actually, this person has cancer, but it is difficult to tell where a white contrast is. This means that even if there is any calcification, it is extremely difficult to find it. As a supplementary technology to it, ultrasonic echo has been used since a long time ago. This is another interesting technology though. From the applied physics point of view, I can tell that sound waves, particularly ultrasound with high frequency, very hardly travel through women's breasts. Ultrasound easily propagate through substances where molecules are strongly bound, such as water and metals. However, ultrasound faces much difficulty to travel through substances where molecule binding is weak, not crystallized, I can say, such as fat. So, in a shallow part, it is possible to see a specific shape compared to other parts. But as shown in the left, in deeper part, it may become difficult to identify borders with other tissues. Now, I like to sort out how this happens in academic perspectives. Basically, X-ray sees electrons in the atoms of the measurement target. The electrons absorb energy in the X-ray. Some parts absorb energy while others don't. This makes an image created. And of course, as this image shows, electrons in the inner core are excited by very powerful energy. Then, electrons are popped off. After that, sometimes X-ray reproduces them, and sometimes electrons keep being radiated. It can be said that X-ray sees distribution of electrons. It means that metals containing many electrons can be seen quite well. Mammography basically sees permeation activity of X-ray. In other words, it sees a shadow graph. It sees a shadow part, made depending on permeability of light. Needless to say, metals with larger atomic numbers have many electrons absorbing X-ray, so they can be seen. So, for example, bone joints can be easily seen by X-ray. Bone tissues have much calcium metal with high electron density and are hardly seen. On the contrary, biological tissues don't contain metal, meaning that electron density is low. Quantity of electrons per unit volume is low, so it is difficult to see their differences. From the beginning, cancer is an organic tissue, so basically doesn't contain metal. In that sense, cancer originally hardly absorbs X-ray. X-ray is to see difference between X-ray absorbing parts and X-ray non-absorbing parts. So, identifying cancer part from other parts is fundamentally something that X-ray is not really good at. The technological point for an invention with X-ray mammography was to develop a device to emphasize such a small difference. And I can summarize that now that technological point was realized and has been widely utilized. As this cartoon shows, dolphins definitely use ultrasound to talk or communicate, sensing each other. It means water transmits ultrasound very well. The prominent point is that water molecules are strongly bound to each other. That is different from, for example, fat. If you imagine transmission of sound, it is instinctively easy to understand. Among metal, water, and air, metal and water have highest transmittability, while viscoelastic body requires much energy. In the light of aforementioned physical features, it can be presumed or deductively understood that identifying cancer accurately is difficult either with X-ray or ultrasound. Today's topic is the new wave called microwave. Neither X-ray nor ultrasound. There is a natural reason why microwave. First, ultraviolet rays are mostly absorbed by skin, so is visible ray. Infrared rays too. What travel through a living body are X-ray and, on the contrary, very low terrestrial magnetism. As the Earth has a magnetic field, terrestrial magnetism permeates very much through a body. But it doesn't lead to high resolution of an image. So, microwave, an electromagnetic wave with shorter wavelength, is to be used. So, rays permeating a living body are either X-ray with high energy or ones with low energy. By seeing a series of characteristics of electromagnetic waves, it is logically understood that microwave with highest energy is the leading candidate, which has potential to generate very significant contrast without any impact to a living body. X-ray absorbs electrons. In other words, it sees electrons. Then, what does microwave see? Rather than directly respond to electrons, actually, microwave sees collective response of atoms constituting the substance. Collective response. Both X-ray and microwave are electromagnetic waves. When an electromagnetic wave is applied, the electrical charges of the whole substance are separated into positive or negative, meaning polarized. Microwave sees easiness of that polarization. It means that what can be observed by microwave is dielectric constant, polarizability. When we apply this to a living body, fat is not polarized, unlike water. Molecules constituting fat, such as palmitic acid and oleic acid, don't have electrical charges separated into either negative or positive within the molecules. So, naturally, they are not polarized even when an electromagnetic wave approaches them. But water has clear separation of its molecules into positive and negative, just like a magnet, though the size of molecules are small. So, when an electromagnetic wave approaches from outside, it shows significant response strongly separated into positive and negative. That is corresponding to the high dielectric constant. Then, when applying this further to the issue of breast cancer, most portion of volume ratio of breast cancer is fat. Academic papers, literatures, and medical textbooks often describes mammary gland tissue and fatty mammary gland tissues. Breast ducts of mammary gland tissues and their interstitium, fat and its interstitium richly contain fat cells mostly. This means that when dimension of the breast as a whole is seen, it is revealed based on anatomical data. Most of the whole volume of the breast consists of insulator, fat in low electric conductivity. Fat corresponds to oleic acid and palmitic acid as chemical substances, and thus there will be little response when an electromagnetic wave approaches. Cancer develops here. It means that when cells proliferate significantly around breast ducts or lobule bodies, water in these cells and massive amount of water molecules contained in capillaries on the network around these cells will respond greatly to microwave. This can be understood through physical consideration. What I intend to say is that it is considered that microwave will permeate through fat without problem, and huge response will be shown on the border between cancer and fat, while fat scarcely react to microwave. From this schematic here, ultrasound is not really good at this from its physical characteristics point of view. Fat has its molecules bound weakly, so it is easily assumed that elastic vibration of ultrasound cannot be transmitted. So after all, image of ultrasound is limited to shallow areas. On the other hand, for microwave, the fat part is merely an insulator, so it permeates to the core part without problem. However, a living body has movable ion including in between, so it is not an absolute insulator. It means that there is a limit to raise frequency, and in our study, we consider approximately 20 GHz is the limit. From such physical perspectives, when actually examined possible response to microwave in the tissue level, it was found that responses to microwave are drastically different between fat and cancer. There is little difference in case of X-ray. As I explained earlier, difference in absorption of X-ray is very slight between cancer and normal tissue, so this happens naturally. Applied physicists in the world have presented that huge difference in polarization ratio of substance clearly indicates the difference. Having explained till now, I would like to show this picture to you as it implies the answer to a possible question: why such an ideal wave or probe has not been disseminated in society of a very much evolved civilization in the modern era. Microwave permeate in a very high speed, while ultrasound travels about 1,000 meters per second in a breast. Microwave permeate in space at the very high speed as traveling around the globe for 8 times per second. Then, it is very difficult to have microwave focused on one point like ultrasonic echo, and it is difficult as a method from the beginning. So, the issue is that when microwave is emitted from a point, it scatters all over the breast, and if there is a cancer, ripples of microwave expand and scatter in 2 pieces. Suppose this swan is the cancer, and when microwave is applied to it, ripples of microwave will scatter around. So even if these scattered ripples on the breast surface are observed, it is extremely difficult to establish a theoretical calculation to identify what swan is where in what size. And this is the problem. Actually, this problem itself is not limited to the issue of breast, but it is well known in our field of study as a very difficult problem of applied mathematics, unsolved in an analytical, correct way, in the history of applied mathematics. Let me explain why my research target is important. Basically, to see a substance in a 3-dimensional manner, permeating waves are used, such as X-rays and MRI imaging. MRI and X-ray are in an interesting relationship. A uniform field is to be created in the space. X-ray travels linearly, and MRI creates magnetic field gradient, meaning creating something linear. However, even though microwave is ideal in material science, as shown in the schematic on the right, ripples scatter around. Then, it is not possible to take it as a linear problem. Thus, a question is raised: how the issue of scattered waves shall be processed. This is called inverse scattering problem, well known as the difficulty to find a shape of substance from scattered light. Our significant feature is that we could solve this scattering problem in a remarkably interesting and beautiful way. One of the very significant points in our story this time exists in this inverse scattering problem. Our approach is to perceive the scattering phenomena itself as one incident point. In other words, a field defined by wave emitting point and wave receiving point, and build a theory to create images by solving the fields a priori. I can explain that the fact that we could analyze this unsolved problem in applied mathematics leads to the diagnostic imaging technology for breast cancer screening using microwave I am presenting in this occasion. Actually, we have been working on imaging of breast cancer just in these 5 or 6 years. Before that, we practically used the mathematical theory in a larger scale as the technology to measure concrete buildings and inspect inside of tunnels. A company we established actually has been practicalizing the technology, and it is now used in many places in Japan. We practically use the technology where microwave hits inside of this concrete wall and bounces here and there to find abnormal spots in concrete. We are successful in practicalizing, and now we develop diagnostic imaging device for breast cancer screening by enhancing the performance. Microwave is cast to a breast, just like a tunnel I showed you previously, and it bounces all around. Then, we create three-dimensional images using aforementioned mathematics. What is presented on the screen is the internal structure inside of the prototype of microwave mammography we developed. Here built in an element which generates microwave with very high speed frequency from 20 GBc to 20 GHz. Ultrasound is usually indicated with megahertz, but this microwave generates very high frequency electromagnetic wave, and by receiving the microwave at high velocity as 10 GHz, 0.1 picosound, to create three-dimensional images of reflective body in the breast out of whole breast, using aforementioned mathematics. We developed such very interesting method or technology. Concerning how much microwave is emitted, approximately in the level of 1/1000th of cellular phone or wireless LAN, so it is considered not to have any impact to human body at all. Now I would explain what images can be obtained actually. I'm going to show you several clinical data, one after another. This is a heterogeneous dense breast when cancers are detected in a few locations. I hear it is quite difficult even for an experienced specialist to find cancer from this image. But when microwave mammography is used, cancers are clearly when compared, as they capture absolutely different matters physically, even when the location of a cancer cannot be identified by X-ray, microwave can identify it clearly. The part shown in white by X-ray is not shown by microwave, meaning that absolutely different image from this is generated. This white part shown by X-ray is where microwave penetrates. This is a little stronger dense breast, which looks the same. Microwave penetrates inside of this dense breast and very clearly capture three-dimensional view of inside of breast duct with progression and filtration of the tumor from breast duct to the normal tissues. Here I would share how they look when captured by X-ray. The similar images are captured in the same location as X-ray. Also in the right breast here, cancers develop in both breasts, and they can be seen in the same locations. The reason why the sizes seem slightly different is that when I talked about the location where X-ray is actually absorbed, in material science, or biochemistry, or maybe better to say, biophysics perspective, in line with development of this cancer cell, collagen fiber network formulated around it enhances absorption of X-ray. That is what can be assumed in the material science point of view. On the other hand, microwave penetrates. So, what microwave presents is, when mentioned in more biological way, collective cell or blood vessels surrounding the cell, part of blood vessel, and combination thereof are projected on this image. Thus, in principle, they cannot be identical, but basically the same locations are corresponding each other, and it was found that the location can be identified both by X-ray mammography and microwave mammography. When compared with ultrasound, we can see interesting data. On the left, ultrasound looks like tsuzumi, a Japanese hand drum, but microwave shows very fine features of that part. The inside feature of the blacked out part in echo is shown by microwave, clearly capturing even the part where breast cancer infiltrates inside. I think it is an interesting point that such a detailed, almost a pathological image is obtained. Some physicists in the world consider it is difficult to have high resolution by microwave. The reason why is, after all, 1 giga or 2 giga microwave has around 30 centimeters wavelength in the air, and around 10 centimeter wavelength in the breast. So, spatial resolution is only about 10 centimeter in 1 giga or 2 giga level. We use 2 gigahertz, so it is impossible to take high-resolution image unless we control 10 giga or 2 gigahertz microwave. Thus, we found a technology to control and detect 2 gigahertz or even some 10 gigahertz microwave is very important. This is actually a radar, and currently, there is not at all group that has accomplished such a radar technology in the world. Among various types of breast cancers, this is an example that a medical doctor, one of our joint researchers, said very interesting. It is progression in breast duct, ductal carcinoma in situ, DCIS, meaning no infiltration. How it looks when cancer cell doesn't leak out of the breast duct. These two patients have DCIS, which was very difficult to capture by X-ray. But microwave generates clear contrast at the part identified as a cancer by pathology of the DCIS. This is considered another important and precious data to show effectiveness of microwave. Lastly, I would share a healthy person's case. This is also very interesting. A healthy person doesn't have anything to reflect microwave compared to one with a cancer, and there's no contrast shown at all. It means contrast cannot be seen with a healthy person compared to one with a cancer. A physicist may argue that a breast duct contains water. It means breast duct cell contains water and of course with blood vessel around it. So microwave may reflect there, but it is just a matter of levels. Breast duct spread network in breast and that raises overall average dielectric parameter, but it is on an ignorable level compared to localization of cancer, and no contrast is generated compared to cancer. Such interesting data can be obtained. I have explained microwave mammography. This is 2-A class in CMARC and Class 2 in the field of medical devices in Japan. Let me summarize my presentation today. The perception that microwave is very useful has been actually discussed in various academic papers and symposiums since 10 or even 20 years ago. But the common challenge for us was remaining problem, how we can solve universal mathematical problem, which is inverse scattering problem, about how we can turn scattered waves of microwave into actual images. And today, as we could resolve that after spending much time, and also thanks to developed hardware technology, I could share very interesting data about microwave mammography. Characteristics of fat and tissues when microwave is applied are remarkably different from each other, with almost 10 times difference. I think this is a great takeaway for you. Before concluding my presentation, I'd like to mention that this research is a national project of Japan. And in addition, we have many supporters, including overseas investors. I would take this opportunity to extend my deepest appreciation for investors in the United States, government of Japan, and many medical doctors participating in this project. Also, I'm a professor at Kobe University for the Faculty of Science, and my gratitude also goes to members of Integral Geometry Science, a startup which enabled me to have this opportunity. Thank you very much.